Tonight I'm going to tell you a tale that I grew up hearing growing up in the mountains of West Virginia. It's about the simple fact if you're poor and homeless, you're quickly forgotten. No matter how good of a soul you were in life. And how if you die screaming in agony, it can cause a haunting. So terrifying that nobody would be able to forget you. This is the haunting tale of Screaming Jenny. This one definitely is not for the faint of heart, so viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to Horror History and Hauntings. I'm your host, Christina. As always, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and of course, comment below. I really do appreciate you, and now on with the story. During the Great Depression, a lot of people fell on hard times. Harper's Ferry was no different in West Virginia. Along the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, there were these storage sheds that were set up while they were building the railroad and the rail station. But once they built the station, the sheds were abandoned. Many of the homeless community would use these sheds for shelter from the wind, especially in the cold months, and they would often fit them with little wood stoves to keep the cold winter at bay. Jenny had been one of these people. She stayed alone in one of the very smallest of the shacks. Jenny was often described as a very kind woman and often did a lot for the other people in her community. She would often take care of the sick individuals in the community, and she was also known to go without a meal so she could give it to somebody else that needed it more than her. On one of these blistering cold evenings, Jenny sat shivering by her fire. She had managed to wrangle up some broth somewhere, and she heated it up on the stove and put it in a little wooden bowl that she had found, and she was like slipping it slowly. She was so focused on trying to satiate the gnawing ache in her stomach from being hungry for so long that she didn't notice an ember that had come out of the fireplace and landed on her wool skirt in the shack. She didn't notice that her clothes were on fire until it actually burned through her skirt and started scorching her skin underneath. She tried to douse the fire with the little bit of broth she had left in her bowl to no avail. Jenny, then in a panic, fled the shack, looking for some sort of help to try to put the fire out. She started following up the tracks towards the railway station, screaming for help as the flames started to engulf her. She screamed in agony as the flames took over her body. The screaming became unbearable shrieks as she started to slow her pace with her walking, and that's when she stumbled onto the tracks. No one really knows if she was just blinded by the flames itself that were completely over her entire body, or whether she was just looking for a way to end the agony. Either way, she didn't notice the headlight of the train that had just rounded the blind curve headed to the station there at Harper's Ferry. The engineer was able to see the streaking ball of fire shaped like a woman on the tracks, and he did what he could. He, of course, blew the whistle, slammed on the brakes, but it was to no avail. He ended up mowing her down anyway. Finally, Jenny's shrieking stopped. The crew from the train station and the engineer, of course, they went and put out the fire because she was still burning. They took her charred remains, they carried her into the train station, but she was gone. She was deceased. And because she was poor, she was given what they call a pauper's funeral, which is basically the church did a very quick funeral, and then they buried her body in the cemetery in an unmarked grave. And because she had no family, and the only people that really knew about her were in the community, she was quickly forgotten, or so they thought. About a month later, an engineer was rounding the same blind curve at night with his headlights on, and he was confronted by a screaming ball of fire in the shape of a woman. He did what he did before. He blew his horn, he slammed on his brakes, but again, he mowed the figure down. The engineer and the crew searched for the mangled, burnt bodily remains, but nothing could be found. That was when they realized that Jenny had returned to haunt the tracks where she died so horribly. To this day, randomly, and especially around near the anniversary of Jenny's death, people still see the ghost of Jenny's screaming, burning body on the tracks. They still hear and feel the impact of the train hitting the body. They also feel the silence that follows as she tried in vain to find somebody to save her. So do you think a haunting like this could exist? If so, do you think it was caused more by the traumatic way that Jenny died, or the fact that she was forgotten? I would love to hear your comments down below. Thank you for watching till the end. As always, good night and sweet dreams.